Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Welcome everyone, I have 6:30. We'll call the budget public hearing to order. First item of a business is pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask the superintendent quickly for the fire department.
Sure, through the chair. So we have two doors located to my left over here. Should the fire alarm go off, we'll exit through there and follow the exit signs in the hallway straight up. Should those doors be blocked, we have an egress right here. Just follow me and try to keep up.
Thank you. So tonight we have the annual budget hearing, and this is for the fiscal year 2025 budget proposal. And with that, I will hand it over to the superintendent to run us through the budget presentation.
Excellent. Through the chair, so we have a presentation tonight for the fiscal year 2025 budget. Our funding sources for this budget are the Chapter 70 and Chapter 71 estimates based on the governor's budget submitted January 25th, 2024. The estimated Chapter 70 funding for FY25 is $14,453,612. The estimated Chapter 71 funding for FY 2025 is $1,308,294. These are preliminary estimates subject to change as the House and the Senate deliberate on the budget. The impact on Bay Path, this slide shows our FY 25 and the FY 24 Chapter 70 minimum contribution and required net school spending. So we see an increase in Chapter 70 of $234,332. We see an increase of the minimum contribution from our 10 districts of $530,546 and an increase overall of $764,878. Some financial information, the FY25 total budget for assessments is $29,173,197. Our member towns assessments are at minimum. So we're looking for nothing more than minimum local contribution from our 10 towns. Our budget includes debt service assessment of $1,552,023. And our operational budget does not require, again, funds above the minimum contributions from our member communities. Our total member assessments total $12,932,626. So again, although the assessments are at the minimum, look, you put that, go back. Are at the minimum, it's important to note that the required minimum contributions that each town must contribute have increased collectively by $530,546. And our member town's transportation assessment has been reduced by a $600,000 reflection of use of our regional transportation reimbursement fund. So we can apply that and reduce that assessment to us. Financial highlights. Total Chapter 70 revenue, as I said, is $14,452,612. School choice assessment for Bay Path is $296,335. Our Chapter 71 busing aid is $1,308,294. And we will be using $75,000 from our E&D to offset our OPEB liability. This is an increase that isn't, it's not an increase over last year, but last year was the year we went from 50 to 75,000. So we did increase that by 25,000 to further pay down our OPEB liability. And we will use 100,000 from E&D to offset our net school spending obligation as well. Statement of assessments based on the governor's budget, Chapter 70. You can see the 14 million. You see our school choice assessment of 296,000. Our minimum contribution from our towns, E&D 75,000, and our E&D net school spending gap from the previous year 100,000 totals $25,558,056. Our transportation budget, Chapter 71 funding is $1.3 million. Our assessment is $154,824 to our 10 towns. We include our reimbursement from our regional transportation reimbursement plan of $600,000 for a total of $2,063,118. You see our debt service, that our interest is now lower than our principal, which is great. This is the second year in a row that's happened, and that'll continue year over year now, but that's a total of $1,552,023. Buying assessment is zero, our sewer betterment fee has been paid off, so that's zero. And our FY25 budget for assessment is $29,173,197. We add back in the school choice of $296,335. That comes to a total operating budget with school choice of $29,469,532. So our proposed budget FY25, again, for assessment is $29,173,197.
What was the total last year?
Total last year, do you have that off the top of your head?
It was roughly 28.
28, I was gonna say.
28,077,000 and change.
I didn't have to change, yeah, 28.7. So our budget highlights, we're looking to add a full-time assistant principal position, add a vocational aide, have an intern for our IT department. The big kicker here is we're looking to institute a one-to-one initiative for student technology devices and associated software that goes along with that. So again, give every student that comes in a device that they can use, they can take home, and that'll allow for a separate cache of devices that will be reserved just for testing. WIDA testing, NAEP testing, MCAS testing, placement testing on those, so that'll account for that. It also funds the wage increases in accordance with our collective bargaining agreements. It has an increased cost for transportation. We had to go out to bid this year, first time in 5 years on that. So transportation costs did go up considerably, and it also includes for an 8% increase in our health insurance premiums. Seems large, but overall collectively with what we have enjoyed through the Hampshire Collaborative, we were expecting an increase to come on that. It also contains continued use of SOA funds to provide significant professional development to all our staff, especially programs focused on social emotional learning, our English learners, and address chronic absenteeism. The use of the SOA funds also provide programs to meet the needs of our most vulnerable groups and close that achievement gap. So this was baked into our foundational budget. We are accounted for each year. We have to break out how much of that is going towards it, and there is a dashboard on the state site to show where we are in meeting the SOA. SOA currently, the current 3-year SOA sunsets this year. April 1st, our new SOA is due, and there are numbers and metrics that we have to meet on that. So we're compiling that, and you'll see that in the April meeting of what we propose to submit to the state for our new SOA for the next 3 years. It's also, the budget includes money for professional development contract for our fields. We have contracted with a provider for aeration and fertilization and recommendations and what we can do. We've seen an increase to our fields betterment on that this past year, so we look to continue that as we look to address our overall master plan for our athletic field. It includes text for our vocational programs such as advanced manufacturing, and science, auto tech, our new business entrepreneurship and marketing program, and you can see the others listed there as well. Significant shop equipment, CNC miller control, a surface grinder, a CNC router, and dust collector. I believe that is for our cabinet making program, right, Mr. Tripp? Correct. Upgrade that, so the millwork that they can do and be done a lot more efficiently and so forth. A rotating bake oven for our culinary and a freezer for our culinary department. Virtual welders for our metal fabrication. The the latest state virtual welding, really, you used to put them in place to develop gross motor skills with welding and save on a lot of material on that. These new ones are getting close to where you can develop fine motor skills because of how robust these are. So there's significant investment in these, but we receive the benefit of they're safer, and we go through a lot less material on these before they get to actually start doing the welding on it. And update our SendMan. SendMan is it's kind of like a lifelike mannequin. So they can, for our allied health programs, you can simulate emergencies in different conditions, fever, temperatures, cardiac arrest, and the students get to practice on those. So we'll look to update that. And they have different ages, children, infants, and adults on the SendMan. Next. So our freshman seat allocation is based on the capital population of each one of our 10 sending towns. Here you can see our 10 sending towns and the capital population of each one of those. We get a total of 17,747 for a capital population, and then we break out the ratio by each one of our towns. We take that ratio and we use that and multiply it by the total number of seats available. We have 325 seats available for incoming freshmen. So this is our formula for calculating how many seats are allocated to each one of our 10 towns. Foundation enrollment. Foundation enrollment is the total number of students from each one of our 10 towns currently enrolled at BayPath. So here you can see the total for each one of the towns. We show you the year-over-year increase or decrease, difference I should say. Auburn 131 last year, or this current year was 117, so a difference of 14. Charlton, you'll see a difference of 15 negatively, so they went from 211 down to 196 and so forth, for a total of 1,243 students projected for FY25, and we currently have 1,232 for the overall increase of 11 students on that. This is school age attending children report. We've included this historically. We're going to have to change that because we can no longer add columns to this, but it just shows each one of our towns. Our towns find it useful to see how their school age children population has progressed from close to 10 years ago on that, and the final column shows you the overall change, which was a deficit or decrease of 1,700 students, school-age children, across all our 10 towns. And individually, you can see how that affects each one of our 10 towns year over year from last year to this year and for the 10-year period. This is important for a town. That's how the formula is calculated for their schools. We're fortunate in that we won't see our population decrease. Whereas just this year, we had over 700 applications for 325 spots. So we have a wait list. So as long as we have the room for 325, we'll continue to have 325 students filling those seats. Statement of assessment. So this is where we take all our formulas and we take our minimum local contributions and we calculate out how much total assessment per town. So overall, you'll see that the minimum contribution for our 10 towns is $11,225,779. We'll go back on that, and then you can see each town: Auburn, Charlton, Dudley, North Brookfield, Oxford, Paxton, Auburn, Southbridge, Spencer, and Webster. Above minimum is 0, so we're not looking for anything over minimum contribution. We put the foundation enrollment in the total, and we have the ratio. That's used for transportation assessment. That ratio is multiplied by the total assessment to our 10 towns, which is significantly reduced from over $1 million to $154,824, and that's how we calculate the contribution from each of our 10 towns. The capital population is there, and the individual towns' percent ratio makeup of that is there, and that's how we calculate what portion of the debt service each one of our towns is responsible for. So again, overall debt service, 1.5 million and change. in each one of our 10 towns. It's calculated there. We add together the minimum contribution, the transportation assessment, and the debt service. And you can see the total for each one of our 10 towns there individually. And then on the next slides, we break it out for you as well. So this is Auburn year over year comparison. So minimum contribution, transportation, debt service. You can see the increase or the decrease over our current fiscal year, and then a percent increase or decrease in each one of the subcategories and overall increase on those. And this is Charlton's, again, 0.11% increase or $2,677 increase overall for Charlton. Dudley has a $44,679 increase or 3.9% increase. North Brookfield has a $51,707 increase. Oxford has a decrease of $47,443. Paxton has an increase of $96,044.
Can we get Oxford's numbers instead? I have a question on Paxton.
Sure.
Is that?
One more.
There we go, okay. That 96,000 increase, 96,044, is that simply due to the 5 additional students?
No, so again, so looking at that and not delving into the cherry sheet,
Yeah.
the minimum, Paxton's minimum contribution has gone up $93,461.
Okay.
So that's where we gotta delve into, I know you want
Yeah.
to talk,
Yeah.
looking at the cherry sheet and seeing what accounts for that.
Okay.
Could it be there's that number that the state uses on assessments and so forth.
Okay.
So we'll look at that percentage and
Got it.
why,
Got it.
on that.
All right, perfect.
But yeah, so minimal increase on transportation and debt service is the same. So the biggest increase for Paxton was minimum contribution.
Very good.
Rutland has a $140,193, and again, that the big factor there is the minimum contribution.
Yeah.
Southbridge has a decrease, $34,737. Spencer has a decrease, $66,533. Webster has an increase of $128,271. And there's the grand totals, again, increase of $540,183 for our 10 towns on their total assessment. And that's it, any questions?
So, given that this is a public hearing, I'll first open questions up to any members of the public who happen to be here. If anyone wishes to pose a question, just name and town you're from. No? Okay. Hearing no questions from the public, are there any questions, further questions from the committee members?
I have no question. So what drives it again? By the towns going up and down? Is it specific on the numbers of population? Or?
It's a combination of two things, and I'll look to our business manager to keep me honest on it. We get cherry sheets from the towns that calculate the minimum contribution from each one of our towns on that, and it could be a combination that you have an increase of students from that town this year or the previous years.
Yeah, so part of it is gonna be if you had an increase in the number of students. So more students is gonna mean more money. But not only that, the state determines what percentage of your foundation budget that they want you to contribute. And with several of the towns, as the towns have gotten quote unquote wealthier, okay, they use what's called the municipal revenue growth factor. So some of the towns, the state says, oh, we're expecting you to contribute a little bit more because we believe you can afford to. So some of your increase is due just to the fact that the state wants you to increase the amount of money that you are contributing versus them. No town ever contributes more than 82.5% of the foundation budget. Back when they did ed reform, that was determined to be kind of the state will always give a minimum of 17.5% aid. So yeah, so it's, you know, they're hoping at some point they'd love to see all the towns being able to do that. That's never gonna happen, but So that is a
So
part
the
of it, in
state, the
addition to
state
the number of
dictates
students.
that multiply whatever that number is.
Right.
By town.
Yeah.
That you have to plug in the math.
When we present to your
Well, I
town,
was
we
gonna
will
say,
show you that.
so when we go to the roadshow, to the FinCom, we have that municipal revenue factor there, and so that's where, you know.
Oh, you'll show that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
Right. And it shows that multiplier.
No, I don't. So if the town's doing better financially,
Pay more.
you're gonna pay more.
It basically
If
figures
you're
in,
poor,
Yeah.
you get a credit.
it figures in the total town's W-2s, the total town's real estate values.
Yeah, it's total asset.
It's individualized, yep.
Yeah.
So if we were
real
a
estate
Newton
assessments.
Wellesley, we would have a much higher, the minimum contribution would be through the roof, so.
But
And a
again,
factor
more than
of-
82%, right?
claims they're in
Oh,
trouble.
well, the problem with a town like, I say problem, it's not apples to apples. Towns like that are typically spending well above the foundation budget the net school spending.
They're contributing.
So if you're spending 180% of your foundation budget, then yeah, you're contributing a much higher percentage because you have chosen to fund your schools at a significantly higher level. So but the state doesn't care. If you want to do it, it's great, they're happy, but what they care about is the funding of the foundation budget.
So when do they actually give you the numbers to plug in? Is it in end of the previous fiscal year, or is it a year
Yes,
behind that?
yeah, it's all based on the previous year.
So 23. The numbers are coming in 23.
Yeah.
Reflect
The
those.
big comparison is Paxton and North Brookfield. We have the same number of seats, both towns,
I know,
but Paxton has a much higher foundation budget than we do,
right.
and quite a bit of difference.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Any other questions?
Through the chair, I just wanted to say, Kyle, this was terrific. It was very well done. It's kind of quick to the point. Not a lot of flow, so it was perfect. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Good job.
Any other questions? Seeing none, then we can, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We can take a 1 minute, and then we can roll right into our regular meeting.